Gamertron. Reviews.
Do you guys realize it's been over a year since I last used that video game review intro video? Over a year! That's crazy! Anyways, hey, hi, how you doing? And may the force be with ya, you rebel scum. Welcome back to the Gamertron show and welcome to my video game review for Star Wars Battlefront. EA's 2015 Star Wars Battlefront. Not to be confused with the original Star Wars Battlefront, developed by Pandemic Studios and released in 2004. However, before I start talking about this brand new AAA blockbuster video game from EA, I think it's important I go over my history with the Star Wars Battlefront video game series and how it affected me as a person. If you haven't already, I would recommend watching my Star Wars Battlefront 2 review. It gives you most of the details on my background with these games, as well as my complete opinion on Star Wars Battlefront 2, if you're curious to know. Anyways, I played the first Star Wars Battlefront not too long after it came out. Me and my younger brother saw the game on store shelves and we begged our mother to pick it up for us because what we were seeing on that case on the game box blew our minds. Now keep in mind, I wasn't really big into video games at the time. I was more into movies and television. Me and my childlike brain couldn't even comprehend the possibility of a video game like a shooter. An action video game that let you control a 3D character. So needless to say, Star Wars Battlefront blew my young mind away. It changed the way I look at video games, it changed the way I look at Star Wars, and only intensified my love for both medias, video games and Star Wars. And when I discovered that a Star Wars Battlefront 2 was being made and coming out, needless to say, me and my younger brother begged our parents to get the game for us, and eventually we did get Star Wars Battlefront 2 as a Christmas gift from our parents, and that was one of the best Christmases ever, because me and my younger brother literally spent the entire day and the entirety of that Christmas playing Star Wars Battlefront 2. To this very day, Star Wars Battlefront and Star Wars Battlefront 2 are probably the two video games I have spent the most time playing. Okay, maybe next to Mass Effect and Warframe as close contenders. Point still stands, I adore the Star Wars Battlefront games, so when I discovered that a new Star Wars Battlefront was being developed by the Battlefield developers, DICE, and published by EA, I had a great deal of concerns, but a few hopes. And so the months leading up to Star Wars Battlefront have been an interesting few months, as all the information that was coming out and being revealed about the game was giving me really mixed feelings. There was some stuff I liked, some stuff I didn't like, some stuff I didn't know how to feel about. However, the speculation and concern is over, as Star Wars Battlefront has finally been released this November of 2015. So, how about we actually review this video game and see if it's strong with the Force or if it's fallen to the dark side. First off, let's look at the main menu. In my video game reviews, I like to talk about the main menu because the main menu is just as much a part of a video game as the gameplay is. The main menu of Star Wars Battlefront is slick, stylish, and simplistic. For me, it was very easy to get my bearings and see what was what and where was where. You have play, collect, stats, season pass, and settings. Whoa, hold on a second. Season pass. Season pass. No. You're not mistaken. The season pass is a selection in the main menu. You know, in other games, the season pass is like something that is advertised on the side of the main menu, comes up as a little advert in one of the corners, something like that. Nope! The season pass is a selectable option in the main menu. I wonder if EA wants you to buy the season pass so badly, as a matter of fact, that they put the season pass as an option in the main menu. That's just, not classy. Not a classy move. Electronic Arts, not classy. Anyways, looking at the actual settings of the game, they are for the most part quite extensive, with a multitude of options allowing you to customize the audio, graphics, gameplay, HUD display, and a little extra. While in stats, you can, well, view your stats. I think the stats speak for themselves. You can see your rank, total kills, wins, losses, and little details about every little thing you do in the game. It's a welcome addition. Now, one particular thing I want to talk about the main menu is these adorable little mini cutscenes and animations. You see, every time you boot up the game or go to the main menu, it switches up what is present on the main menu. Sometimes you'll see a lightsaber, R2-D2, a stormtrooper helmet, a TIE fighter, and if you don't do anything, if you just let the menu hold, it will start playing these like little screensaver animation cutscenes. There's two really cute and funny ones, one involving R2-D2 and C-3PO being R2-D2 and C-3PO, and one where a mouse droid follows an AT-AT. I just really appreciate that little extra effort that went to the main menu, these like screensaver cutscene animations. Like, I adore them. They're a really like little nice addition there. And really adds to the Star Wars feel and the love the developers had for Star Wars in developing this game, which I will get to later on in the review. However, let's look at the game modes available in Star Wars Battlefront. You have two ways to play: missions, which can be played solo or with a co-op buddy, and of course, PvP multiplayer. Let's look at the options available in missions. You have training missions, battles, and survival. The training missions offer unique scenarios and act as basic tutorials for the different vehicles and hero characters in Star Wars Battlefront. Battles has you take on the AI or take on a buddy with AI teammates in a modified version of a standard deathmatch. Think Kill Confirmed from the Call of Duty video games, where every time you kill an enemy, they drop a token. Depending on the type of enemy they were, you'll score more or less points, collect enough tokens from defeated enemies to gain points, and win the game. And then you have Hero Battle, which is the same as Battle, only hero characters are available. And then we have Survival, where you play as a rebel soldier and try to survive wave upon wave of Imperial forces. Now keep in mind, each one of these different missions in training, battles, and survival can be played solo by yourself or co-op with a buddy. And split-screen couch co-op is even available on the consoles. I have to admit, I really like the missions available in Star Wars Battlefront. They allow me to play as the different vehicles available in Battlefront and all the different heroes available in Battlefront. It allows me to play as them right away whenever I want to. I find myself replaying the training missions, the different battle missions, and the survival missions. I find myself replaying them over and over and over again. I am genuinely enjoying them. However, I can't help but scratch my head and wonder why there just isn't more. Why can I not play all the other game modes available in multiplayer? Why can I not just play them with bots? The AI in this game is obviously programmed to follow objectives and complete objectives. So why I cannot play multiplayer game modes like Walker Assault, Supremacy, Fighter Squadron, Drop Zone, Cargo, Hero Hunt, Heroes vs. Villains, why I can't play all these game modes in single player, in missions, why I can't play all these game modes with bots solo or with a co-op buddy, it's beyond me. I really don't understand why DICE and EA didn't add more to the single player, because they could do it. They could do it easily. While I am enjoying what is there in the single player offering, it really baffles me why there just isn't more. Because looking at this from a game developer point of view, they could easily add more with little time effort, and money spent. So why there isn't more on offer in the single player portion of the game? Why I can't play the multiplayer game modes with bots? Solo is quite frankly beyond me. I have to admit that is something that rubs me the wrong way. While I do enjoy the missions available in Star Wars Battlefront, the solo and co-op missions, I really do enjoy them. I can't help but wonder why there just isn't more. Anyways, moving on to the actual multiplayer game modes. You have 9 available, 9 different modes. That's actually kind of impressive. We have Supremacy, Walker Assault, Fighter Squadron, Blast, Cargo, Drop Zone, Droid Run, Hero Hunt, and Heroes vs. Villains. Supremacy is a unique game mode where 2 teams of 20 battle to control these, control points on the map. New control points are only available once you have captured the control point before that. So both teams are constantly moving back and forth into enemy and friendly territory, trying to attack and defend each other's control points. And with the different vehicles and turrets available on the maps used for Supremacy, it can lead to some really intense and vicious tugs of war. Walker Assault is the most unique and original game mode Star Wars Battlefront has on offer. It's also its most popular game mode. The Empire team gets 1 or 2 AT-ATs to defend and escort to one end of the map, while the Rebel team has a bunch of Y-Wing bomber uplinks scattered across the map. The Rebel and Empire team must battle for control of these uplinks to determine how many Y-Wing bombers will attack the AT-ATs. The more Y-Wing bombers the Rebels can get from the uplinks, the longer they will have time to actually damage the walkers, because the AT-AT walkers are invulnerable until they are attacked by Y-Wing bombers, so the Rebel team wants to get as many Y-Wing bombers as possible, while the Empire team wants to stop the Rebels from getting the uplinks to get the Y-Wing bombers. Walker Assault is where some of the most awe-inspiring, spectacular moments happen in Star Wars Battlefront. You have the massive, epic, monolithic walking tanks that are the AT-ATs bearing down on the Rebel team and supporting the Empire team. The AT-ATs can do a devastating amount of damage in battle, but their range only goes so far and their area of effect only goes so far as well. While at the same time the Empire team gets AT-STs, the Chicken Walkers, which if used properly can give the Empire a real edge. While at the same time, both teams get access to flying vehicles like X-Wings and TIE Fighters, and they duke it out in dogfights in the sky, with lasers and explosions just littering the screen everywhere. Walker Assault is one of the most epic, awe-inspiring things I have ever seen in a multiplayer game. It reminds me of Titanfall, where even though I'm dying and sucking at the match, I'm still having my mind blown by the incredible action and visuals that are happening in front of me. Walker Assault can lead to some of the most awe-inspiring and memorable moments of Star Wars Battlefront. So why you can't play this single player with bots is beyond me. Anyways, the other game modes available in Star Wars Battlefront's multiplayer are all tried and true game modes that we have seen in other games. Drop Zone is control points or hard points, or just take over A, B, and C locations. Blast is your standard team deathmatch. Fighter Squadron is basically deathmatch, but with air vehicles. They're technically space battles that just aren't in space. Cargo, which is capture the flag. Droid Run, which is basically control points, but the control points are moving droids. Hero Hunt, where one person becomes the hero, everybody gangs up to kill the hero, whoever kills the hero becomes the hero. We've seen this game mode before, and it's gone by several different names, where one player takes control of a powerful character and all the other players take control of standard characters. And Heroes vs. Villains, which is, well, it's what it sounds like. Heroes versus Villains. It's basically all the hero characters thrown into a deathmatch. First team to kill all the heroes on the enemy team wins. I have to admit, there is an extensive amount of game modes available in Star Wars Battlefront's multiplayer, so if you get tired of playing one game mode, you can always jump into another. I really appreciate what DICE has done here. Although a great deal of these game modes are stuff we have seen before, they're classic multiplayer game modes, they all have that Star Wars Battlefront spin to them, and it adds quite a bit of variety to the game. Alrighty now, alright, this is the part of the review I've been waiting for. Let's talk about the graphics and the audio. Oh my goodness! This game looks and sounds perfect. Simply perfect. There is no other word more precise or more accurate enough to describe the graphics, the textures, the lighting, the music, the sound effects. There's no other word to describe all these different aspects that go to the visual and auditory side of this video game. They are perfect. They are perfect graphics. They are perfect audio. The amount of detail in the individual textures of the environments and the character models. When you walk in sand or snow, you leave footprints and kick up sand and snow. On the forest planet of Endor, the trees and the plants, they look real. They look real. And the way the sun and all the lighting passes through the plants and creates dynamic shadows. And when the John Williams score kicks in, when the epic Star Wars music kicks in, when Imperial March starts playing, when you're playing as the Empire in Walker Assault and you have an AT-AT walking alongside you, shooting while you're shooting along its side, protecting it. Oh my goodness! Or when you're playing Fighter Squadron as an X-Wing or TIE Fighter and the music kicks in as ships are blasting all around you and explosions and you just dodge that missile and... I cannot tell you how much the visuals and the audio of Star Wars Battlefront it takes the game to a whole new level. They are literally so damn good, so objectively quality, that even if you dislike Star Wars Battlefront, if you don't find the gameplay fun, you are still guaranteed to get swept away in the music and visuals. And not just that, DICE, the developers of this game, have really shown their love for Star Wars. You can tell that these guys adore the old movies. A New Hope, The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. If you have seen those movies, if you've seen the original Star Wars trilogy, and you play Star Wars Battlefront, your jaw will drop at all the little details. They added so many little details into the maps and level design of Star Wars Battlefront. If you pay attention and really look at the level design, the map design, and discover all the little nuances and Easter eggs hidden in these levels, it will warm your heart, simply warm your heart as a Star Wars fan. You'll see props, actual props that you saw from the old movies being used in this game, like the exact duplicate models you saw in the movies. They were remade in the game. And not just that, all the levels have wildlife on them. Tatooine has all these bugs and little critters and Jawas hanging around. On Endor, you can actually find Ewoks. There are actual Ewoks. They'll run in and out of their little huts on the trees, and you'll see some of them fly by on those gliders of theirs. And the amount of detail put into designing the weapons and the character models, all the little details you'll see on the character models. If you watch the movies, and if you really pay attention to the costume design found in the original trilogy, you'll see all the little details added onto the character models. Especially the stormtroopers. The stormtrooper armor looks almost real, with the fabric and all the plastic pieces hanging off, and the scratches and burn marks after you've been in a battle. The way sparks fly off your enemies when you shoot them. I can literally go on for hours praising the visuals and the audio of Star Wars Battlefront. However, the one last thing I will say about the graphics and audio, specifically towards the audio side of things, is just how absolutely crisp and clear the audio is. The sound effects were ripped straight from the old movies. Blaster fire, a sound a TIE fighter makes when it comes flying by, lightsaber sounds, you name it, all the sound effects in the game are perfect re-representations of the sound effects found in the movies, and they sound so crisp and smooth. So yes, overall, the presentation of this game, the graphics, and audio presented in Star Wars Battlefront is simply perfect. Just perfect. Alright, I like to save the most important topic and subject of a game for last. Let's talk about the gameplay of Star Wars Battlefront. Star Wars Battlefront, like its predecessors, is both a first-person and third-person shooter. You can move your character around, crouch, jump, shoot, aim down sights, melee, the standard mechanics for any base shooter game. However, what makes Star Wars Battlefront unique to other first-person shooters released in this time period is that it finds a unique mix of old-school arcadey arena tournament shooters and the new-school present shooters of today. Now, the developer of the game, DICE, is mostly known for making the Battlefield video games, and that was one of the biggest worries I had for Star Wars Battlefront, is that they would take too much from Battlefield and it would overshadow what I personally liked from the old Battlefront games. I am so glad that is not the case, because as of course, you can switch from the first person to the third person and even switch the shoulder view in the third person at any time, which can be very helpful in gameplay. I really like how DICE added their own little twist and taste into Star Wars Battlefront while still keeping some of what was Star Wars Battlefront in terms of its gameplay. Certain changes and additions such as regenerating health, however you still also get a health bar so you always know how much health you have, which is always appreciated, being able to sprint for an unlimited amount of time, and having unlimited ammo really does change up the game. While I do believe that the unlimited ammo on the unlimited sprint is simply great, I have to admit I am a bit iffy about the regenerating health, but then again I'm also happy that I don't have to go running around looking for healing droids or health kits on the ground like in the old Star Wars Battlefronts, and the regenerating health system forces you to take cover and fall back, which is something that all the characters in the original Star Wars films did a lot of. So, I'm not entirely against the regenerating health, but honestly, I still do prefer a regular old health pool and healing kits and stuff like that. But that's just me. Now, the whole unlimited ammo thing, that really changes up the game. Whereas in the older Star Wars Battlefront you had to look for ammo droids and ammo pickups if you were running low on ammo, here everyone only gets one weapon, one blaster, with unlimited ammo. However, DICE has added this unique and clever recharging overheating mechanic, where after firing your blaster for a certain amount of time it will overheat and need to cool down, instead of having to reload your gun. Hell, if you manage your blaster fire, you may not need to ever even overheat your weapon during a battle. But when your weapon does overheat and needs to cool down, there is a yellow bar that appears in the red cooldown reticle of your HUD display. And if you hit the typical reload button at the right time when you hit that yellow bar, you will get an instantaneous cooldown of your weapon. While this mechanic isn't entirely original, it does add an interesting and unique element to shootouts, with a layer of tactics and strategy that has to go behind it. Alright, am I going to burst fire my weapon? Am I going to fire single shots? Am I going to overheat and hopefully get the cooldown on my weapon so I can lay down more fire? The whole unlimited ammo recharge cooldown mechanic really adds a unique dynamic to the gameplay of Star Wars Battlefront. Now, let's move on to Star Cards. Star Cards is Star Wars Battlefront's way of introducing unique special power weapons and special abilities. As you level up or rank up in this game, you will earn access to more and more Star Cards, more and more new blasters, and new customization looks for your characters, with these wacky and silly emotes to boot. However, focusing on the Star Cards, again, as you level up, you gain access to more and more for purchase with credits that you earn by completing multiplayer matches. There are a variety of different power weapon and unique ability Star Cards. There's the classic and always used thermal detonator, basically a grenade, to giving you access to a sniper rifle and scout pistol, or more unique weapons like a homing rocket, a grenade launcher, an ion torpedo, a weapon specific for taking on vehicles. Then there are also the unique Star Card abilities, such as a personal shield, explosive shots, a jetpack, this thing called Scan Pulse, which basically lets you see enemies through walls who are in a close radius, and many, many more. The Star Cards remind me a great deal of the Burn cards from Titanfall. However, instead of single-use items and power-ups that you lose after you die, Star Cards are basically akin to your loadout. Since there is no class system like in the older Battlefront games, you actually customize your character and your loadout, and as you level up, you unlock new stuff to customize said character and loadout. And quite honestly, I like this system. I like being able to customize my Rebel Soldier or Stormtrooper. and I can create specific loadouts for specific situations. Do I want to employ blitzkrieg or hit-and-run tactics? I'll create a hand. A hand is Battlefront's version of a loadout where it's your selection of star cards. I'll create a hand and bring star cards like Jump Pack and Explosive Shot to get into the middle of a battle and hit the enemy hard. If I want to focus on taking down vehicles, I'll equip an Ion Grenade, Ion Shot, and Ion Torpedo. If I want to play as some sort of, say, demolitions expert, I'll bring a thermal detonator, a grenade launcher, and maybe a personal shield to protect myself from my own explosives. I like customization in games, and being able to customize my hand, my star cards, and create different loadouts for different situations on different game modes and missions. I appreciate that, and it can create some interesting situations and battles. However, let's talk more about how you actually control your character. I have to say, playing this as a first-person or third-person shooter, it's very smooth. The movement, the shooting, the aiming, it all feels buttery smooth, just so smooth and responsive. I never felt like I was fighting the controls. I felt like I had complete control of my character and moved fluidly from action to action. For the normal Stormtrooper and Rebel characters, the normal Stormtrooper Rebel gameplay, the base shooter gameplay is solid. It's solid. It's a lot more old school and arcadey with that buttery smooth feel I keep talking about. The game is actually really old school as there are actual pickups and power-ups and tokens littered across all the different maps, giving you access to the different vehicles, hero characters, and even more power-ups and weapons available in the game. Now, as for vehicle gameplay, it's a bit mixed. It's not as smooth as the regular shooter gameplay. ATST's control, alright. I will admit, I find the camera angle for the ATST a bit odd as you're always staring at the top of its head unless you change the field of view. It can be at times a bit difficult to aim because of the unique view that you get with the ATST, but the ATST vehicle does have a lot of firepower, including its laser cannon, grenade launcher, and homing rocket. I'm not gonna lie, going on a killing spree with an ATST is pretty empowering, but not nearly as empowering as taking control of an AT-AT, the giant four-legged walkers. Holy hell, do those things have some firepower. You have your classic laser cannons, even more powerful laser cannons, and an orbital barrage. I gotta tell ya, it can be a real power trip taking control of an AT-AT and just devastating the enemy team. And then we have the flying vehicles. Oh boy. Word of warning. When you start playing Star Wars Battlefront, before you even start playing, go into the options, go into controls, gameplay, whatever it is, and immediately lower the sensitivity for flying vehicles. Seriously, lower the sensitivity. Because the default sensitivity for flying vehicles is way too sensitive. I mean, I moved my mouse slightly to the left to direct my TIE fighter, and I've crashed into so many walls, enemy vehicles, gone flying off course, got myself turned around, because the turning sensitivity with flying vehicles, the default turning speed, is ridiculous. It is so difficult controlling air vehicles at the base sensitivity, so immediately change the sensitivity for flying vehicles. And once you do change the sensitivity, and it becomes easier to control, flying vehicles can become fun as you have epic dogfights with X-Wings and TIE Fighters shooting lasers and missiles at one another. There's even a nice little locking mechanic where if you get behind an enemy or in front, whatever, you can lock on to an enemy fighter, giving you better aim for your lasers and missiles. So while flying vehicles at first leave a bad impression, once you alter a few options here and there, flying vehicles can become fun to play in. But flying vehicles do remain very simple in terms of their gameplay, with a little aerial maneuvering added here and there. And everything I just said about the aerial vehicles, the TIE Fighters, and the X-Wings apply to the speeder bikes, as they play very similarly to one another. Now finally, to round up the gameplay, we have the hero characters. The available hero characters are, for villains, Darth Vader, Emperor Palpatine, and Boba Fett, and for heroes, Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, and Princess Leia. Boba Fett, Han Solo, and Princess Leia play more like your typical third-person shooter characters, however, with much more powerful weapons and a few special abilities. While the hero characters Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader, and Emperor Palpatine play a bit different from the rest. Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader obviously have lightsabers. However, the odd thing about Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker when they perform their lightsaber melee attacks, this was something that always bugged me, and however I didn't know what exactly it was, but after playing as Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader for an extended period of time, I finally found out what was so off about their lightsaber melee attacks. Every time they perform a melee attack, they do a little lunge forward. This is very odd to me because I'm so used to games with melee combat where when you swing your sword, you stay in place or you move just a little bit forward. In Star Wars Battlefront, every time Luke and Vader swing their lightsaber, they like lunge forward. It's a bit jarring at first, but you do eventually get the hang of it. And oh boy, the lightsaber effects, the sound effects and visual effects for the lightsabers, just awe-inspiring, really, truly. And lastly, we have Emperor Palpatine with his Force Lightning. Now, the Emperor isn't really a melee character or a long-range shooter character. He's more of a close-range support character, which is really surprising. However, all of the hero characters are fun to play as and extremely empowering. In multiplayer, the hero characters can really change the tide of a battle, especially Boba Fett, who with his jetpack can easily get from one part of the map to the other, while at the same time, with his blaster, flamethrower, and wrist rocket launcher, can take out multiple enemies from both afar and close range, while Luke and Vader can go on killing sprees, deflecting blaster fire with their lightsabers back at their enemies, using lightsaber throw or force push to kill multiple enemies at a distance or close range. While admittedly, these hero characters, if you compare them to their appearances in other video games like Darth Vader in The Force Unleashed, or from the hero characters in the previous Battlefront games, they may not be as epically skilled and powerful as they are in the Star Wars lore, but in this game in particular, in this Star Wars Battlefront, playing as the hero characters can be really empowering. And as a Star Wars fan, it is an absolute joy seeing Vader, Luke, Leia, Solo, Boba, and Palpatine just duke it out, take on hordes of bad guys, and deliver these cheesy, ridiculous one-liners and quotes that are obviously just fan service. And for me, it works. It is pure fan service and I love it. Now, before I give you my final conclusion and my final thoughts on Star Wars Battlefront, let's just go over a few things I like and dislike. I really like the attention to detail and the absolute love that was put into making this game as authentic to the original Star Wars trilogy as possible. Way to go, DICE, you've made many Star Wars fans very happy. I actually really like all the emotes you can perform with your characters. You can tell that the animators were really having so much fun designing these. While some of them are really silly, some of them are pretty funny, and some even badass to a certain extent. I really love how all the different maps, all the different levels available in Star Wars Battlefront have natural cover, where in other video games and in other shooters, you have cover placed around the maps, and it feels so unnatural and forced. It feels video gamey, and while I don't mind that, it's done all the time. In Star Wars Battlefront, all the levels and all the maps, they all have natural cover. The cover really feels like a part of the environment. It doesn't feel forced. It feels like that cover that you can use in a shootout, it feels like it wasn't there on purpose, that it's just there, it's part of the world. I really dig the natural environmental cover. I really don't like that you have to get to rank 50 to unlock the cool visual customizations for your characters. Oh, you want to play as one of the many unique aliens in the Star Wars universe. Och, you're gonna have to get to level 40, level 50, and dear God, you level up so slow in this game. I get that you have to level up slowly on purpose to add player progression, yada yada yada. I actually wanted to get to rank 50 and unlock all the different customizations for your character for the sake of this review, but if I did that, you wouldn't see this review for another 1 or 2 months. Literally, it's going to take that long to get to rank 50 in Star Wars Battlefront. It's going to take me so long just to actually unlock the really cool customization for your Stormtrooper and Rebels. You want to play as a Twi'lek? Gotta get to rank 50. Want to play as a Scout Trooper? Gotta get to rank 50. That really bugs me, that you have to get to rank 50 to unlock the really cool customizations for your characters. I really don't like, as a matter of fact it pisses me off, how overpowered Han Solo's blaster is. The final unlockable weapon in Star Wars Battlefront, Han Solo's blaster, is the only blaster you're gonna need! Once you unlock it, there's almost no reason to use any of the other weapons in multiplayer. Granted, I use all the other weapons because I want to for the sake of variety, but Han Solo's blaster is way too good. There is literally no downside, no compensation for using Han Solo's blaster. Kills every player 1-2 hits, has pretty damn good range, and a short recharge. Han Solo's pistol needs to be nerfed. It really bugs me that there's no private matches in the game. You can't make private matches, set up your own lobby or server. You just select a game mode and you go with it. Sure, you can bring a friend and set up a party, but only for playing worldwide PvP with everybody else. You would think for a video game that has such a heavy emphasis on multiplayer, they would give you more multiplayer options. Such as, like I said, a private match where you could edit the game mode settings. Maybe increase and decrease the health on player characters, on vehicles, set up spawn points for the power-ups. Or maybe even decide whether pickups and power-ups drop at all. It really baffles me that there's no private matches with customizable game mode settings. It just, wow, really? It really does shock me that DICE just didn't add more, where they could have easily added more. There's no spectator mode or feeder mode. DICE spent so much time on adding little details and Easter eggs to Star Wars that they didn't bother to add the little details and extras for the sake of a video game. However, those are my little likes and little dislikes. Let me give you my final conclusion and final opinion on this current version of Star Wars Battlefront, as there is more free content to come, as well as the Season Pass and expansion packs that will be coming that will add to the game and alter it in some ways. This video game review is for Star Wars Battlefront, the default vanilla version, when it first came out in November of 2015. Anyways, for my video game reviews, when I give you my final opinion and final say, I'm not giving you a stupid ranking or number or game score or anything like that. I tell you whether I liked or disliked the game and whether I thought it was a great game, good game, okay game, bad game, or awful game. My reviews are not objective in the slightest. They are all subjective personal opinion how I feel about the game. Now, while I am a hardest of hardcore Star Wars fan and Star Wars Battlefront fan, Star Wars Battlefront 1 and 2 were my childhood, I have to say, EA's Star Wars Battlefront, to me, is a good game. However, I would not recommend picking up Star Wars Battlefront at full price. Nor would I recommend getting the Season Pass with all the expansion packs for full price. While I do recommend Star Wars Battlefront, I especially recommend it to hardcore Star Wars fans, and first-person and third-person shooter fans who are fond of old arcade-style shooters. While I do recommend the game, I do not recommend getting it at full price. Getting it at $60 or $110 if you get the Season Pass is simply too steep a price for a single video game. I do recommend that you play Star Wars Battlefront and give it a try for yourself. Just make sure you get it on sale or find a really good deal online. However, overall, I like Star Wars Battlefront. I really do like the game. I do wish there was more to it. I wish there were more missions available in the single player. But besides that, I really do enjoy the gameplay of Star Wars Battlefront. It's old school, arcadey, and simple, with a few current generation new school mechanics added to add that little bit of unique flavor to the gameplay. I really like EA's Star Wars Battlefront. It's not as good as other games that I have played this year in 2015. It's not going to be one of my favorite games of all time. I honestly still prefer Star Wars Battlefront 1 and 2. I do like those games more than this one, granted there is some nostalgia behind that. But Star Wars Battlefront is a quality product. I enjoy it for what it is. And it may be one of my favorite games of 2015. It may make my top 10, maybe not my top 5, but maybe my top 10. As a Star Wars fan, I can feel the love that went into making this game. However, I also can't help but feel that the publisher Electronic Arts is using the fact that this is Star Wars and the new Star Wars movie, Star Wars The Force Awakens, is coming out so soon, and there's this new massive reborn mass interest in Star Wars again, that they want to use Star Wars Battlefront as a tool to milk money from Star Wars fans. I can't help but wonder what this game could have been if DICE had full creative control. Would we have gotten more maps? More single player? More hero characters like Chewbacca or Obi-Wan Kenobi? Unfortunately, we will never know. But Star Wars Battlefront as it is, I find it to be a good game. I like it and I enjoy it for what it is. So that has been my long-ass in-depth review for Star Wars Battlefront. I hope you guys enjoyed this lengthy video. If you did, please hit the like button and leave a comment letting me know your thoughts on the video. And finally, if you want to support my YouTube channel, maybe consider subscribing to me and checking out my other videos. Anyways guys, this has been a video game review for Star Wars Battlefront. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you all later. May the Force be with you.